I can't stop eating. I eat because I'm unhappy. And I'm unhappy because I eat.
Alright, so we are at 245.4 this morning. This isn't the most accurate, but I use it as a baseline and shows you a pretty decent trend. So also at 25.1% body fat and BMI 35.2. Alright. My initial weight loss journey started in August of 2013, my 30th birthday. I took the scales at 302.4 pounds. Looking back at pictures from before then and around that time, I'm pretty sure that I was heavier at some points than 302.4, but 302 is the heaviest that I've actually recorded, and actually had the nerve to get on the scale and see exactly how big that I was. After my birthday, and looking back at pictures from my birthday, around the same time I found the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, about basically a guy, Joe Cross, who advocates juicing as, in a plant-based diet as a healthy way, the healthy way to be, how the body can repair itself and all of that stuff. So armed with the knowledge of that movie and documentary, I went on a 6-day juice fast shortly after my 30th birthday and went through it with flying colors, never had any issues. It was funny. I was juicing and it would be functions and stuff that I'd have to, like we had a church function and I ended up doing some cooking for it. And so I'm cooking all of this food that I wasn't eating, but I had to resolve, didn't think anything of it. So fast forward 60 days later, I finished the juice fast, and at the end of that, I had lost a little bit over 70 pounds. I went from 302.4 down to about 230. Okay, at that point, I picked up weightlifting. Got into the gym, did my own thing. Me and my buddy, worked out 3 to 4, 5 days a week on one program or another. For the next year or so, I managed to keep my weight somewhere between 235 and 245. That was about the swing that I kept at. So got into a habit of through the week doing a typical bro bodybuilding diet, carbs, healthy carbs, sweet potatoes, brown rice, oatmeal, that sort of stuff, and protein, getting plenty of protein, chicken, fish, lean protein, salmon, a little bit of red meat every now and then, turkey, all of that sort of stuff. So I was getting plenty of protein, and fat was the enemy. So I didn't get that much fat. I always tried to maintain low fat. My diet was mainly carbs and protein. Okay, so I would do that through the week. On the weekends, that was where the issues started coming up. So on the weekends, Saturday I could eat somewhat good, but Sunday. So Sunday, every Sunday I'm in McCormick. Visiting family, going to church up there. We have 2 services up there, so we're at church basically all day. In between services, we're at, you might as well say my other mom, my mom's house, and there she's got a spread every Sunday. I mean, fried chicken, barbecued ribs, macaroni and cheese, broccoli casserole, all kinds of pudding, of cobblers, sweet potato cobbler, that is out of this world. I could eat half of the pan myself. Peach cobbler, apple cobbler, all kinds of food. And she would just have a spread every Sunday, and I would eat that, and I would just, as my cousins say, I just eat and bust open. And that's what I would do every Sunday. My weight would fluctuate. You know, when Monday came, my weight would fluctuate anywhere between 2 and 5 pounds, just from what I was eating over the weekend, water retention, and all that sort of stuff. So I got into a motion of basically what I was doing. I would, you know, diet down during the week. I would eat crazy during the weekends. And I was basically maintaining. I was staying within that 10-pound range, 235, 245. And I held on to that for about a year. You know, I would, you know, hold on to that. And somewhere this year or end of last year, something just, I don't know, something clicked. And whereas I normally stayed within that 235, 245 range, the weight just started piling on. And it got up to where the biggest that I, you know, actually weighed myself and recorded it at was 287. So about 15 pounds away from my max weight I had gotten up to. Now, it looked a lot better, just for the mere fact that at the same time I was in the gym and I was killing it in the gym. You know, I went from 135 on bench to 295, 305 on benches for reps. I went from 135 on squats to where I was doing 430 on squats for reps. You know, sets of 5. I went from 95 pounds doing deadlifts to up to like 365 for reps on deadlifts. So I was absolutely killing it in the gym, of course, because I was at a caloric surplus. But the weight just kept piling on. And, you know, folks started noticing, like, you know, my mom would get on my nerves because she would bring it up. You know, as sweet as parents can be, you know, they always concerned about you. But, you know, want to be careful with the weight. You know, you did so good taking it off. You don't want to put it all back on. You know, blah, 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 blah. And other folks would notice and say stuff, not so nicely, as mom would say. But I knew that I put on a lot of the weight back. But again, it looked a lot better this time around, just because with the muscle gain from all of the weightlifting that I was doing, it was distributed a lot better. So, you know, I really, my size didn't really change that much. You know, at the end of my juice fast, I went from I was wearing, when I was in 302, I was wearing 2X shirts, barely. You know, I should have probably been wearing a 3X, but you know, 2X is my limit. You know, any more X's beyond that, and I knew I was a fatty. I went from a 46 pants down to 36 and some 34s. Went from 2XL shirts down to larges and sometimes mediums, depending on the cut and the brand. And I went from a size 14 shoe to a size 12 shoe. Fun fact there, you got fat everywhere. So as you lose a lot of weight, you will, most of the times, go down in shoe sizes as well. Alright, so even with gaining back a lot of that weight, because of the way it was distributed, I wasn't wearing 34s no more, but I was very, very, very snugly wearing 36s. I was very, very snugly wearing my larges, and I was fitting into my 12 shoes still. Alright, so April 1st. My best friend, one of my best friends, had kept, you know, talking to me about keto. Beforehand, I had known some things about keto. You know, I had just some things I read on the bodybuilding.com forums, but hadn't really gotten too deep into it because I just thought, it's a crack diet, you know, the keto. But did some research. April 1st, went in head first, and have not looked back since. So I've been on keto now for about 5 months. When I first started April 1st, I was 287 pounds. Okay, as of this morning, September 1st, month 5, September 1st, I am down to 245.4. So I've lost about 41.6 pounds to be exact, but about 42 pounds so far. My goal is to get down to 195, and at this point, I'm shutting through, you know, rather than stopping like I did when I was juicing and thinking, okay, well, you know, now reincorporating foods and exercise and all that kind of stuff, I can continue to mosey on down to the weight I want to be. I'm going to stick to it and, follow along on the journey with me. So I have about 50 pounds that I want. It's about 50.4 pounds, but 50 pounds basically is where we're going from now. All right, so I want to do that by the end of the year, December 31st. Now, I want to do that safely. That's the big thing. So, depending on how things go, that may not be a realistic goal, But I want to lose 50 pounds by the end of December. So I would be at my goal weight of 195. Anything beyond that, we'll see at that point, how do I look? What's the body composition like? How do I feel? And we'll go from there. I realize that my weights are going to, suffer. They already have to an extent. I'm not squatting 430 for reps right now because I've cut down so much. So being at such a deficit and cutting down so much, you're going to lose strength. But I want to continue to be able to push at least, like today on the program, I did squats, and I did squats 340, 5 sets of 5, 340. I did deadlifts, 1 set of 5 for 305, and I didn't do bench today. I did bench the next day that I go. But I want to maintain strength. Now, since I've been on keto, has every day been perfect? No, I have had a couple of slip-ups early in the journey. Thankfully I've gotten the resolve now, and I've gotten into it to the point where, nothing really tempts me or phases me anymore. I can be around. I still go to my mom's house on Sunday, and they'll be eating their food. I have my own food that I take with me, and the sweet potato cobblers and all of that, it doesn't faze me. So I did have a few slip-ups early on, but since April 1st, I've been on keto. I've been in ketosis pretty much 95% of the time that I'm aware of. Anything that slipped me up, I got right back on the horse and got right on into it. Okay, like I said, April 1st, I weighed 287 pounds. I don't have any full body shots around that time, but I'll post up somewhere what I have. But that was me at around 287, might be a little bit more. And I will post also. So I had some progress photos that I took on July 1st, which is about 3 months in, and also the photos that I took on today. And, looking at them, thankfully I can see the difference. It's weird sometimes. For instance, yesterday I saw a coworker of mine, an old coworker that I used to work with at the Y that I used to work at before I transferred to the one that I'm at now. And she remarked how much different I looked. And it's funny how we can lose a lot of weight and yet still mentally, visibly, you still see the same person. Like, I can tell that I've lost weight. I can see the scale. I can see the fact that I'm putting on clothes that I couldn't wear a couple of months ago. I'm putting on suits and stuff I couldn't wear a couple of months ago. Able to button up pants and stuff without inhaling and holding my breath. I'm able to wear belts and stuff without, at the end of the day, having it rubbing all into my, waist or whatever. So I can see the inches, visibly, that the difference. So, but still, sometimes, I'll go and I'll be taking a shower and, get out, brush my teeth, and I look in the mirror and I don't know what it is, but I just still see that same person that was 287 pounds, okay? So, that's a battle you have to fight. It's a battle for consistency as well, sticking to the plan, sticking to ketosis. It's weird sometimes, thinking about it. You're withholding basically a whole food group from yourself, a whole macro group, all the carbohydrates, but it's worth it. I've gotten a bunch of benefits from it, and we can talk about that. That's a topic for another video. I've had a bunch of benefits. The benefits have definitely outweighed the downsides as far as not be able to ingest all of the carbs, not be able to have donuts every now and then, all of that stuff. So, like I said, follow along on the journey as I proceed down to 195 pounds. That is the goal. It's going to happen. And I'll take you along, with the series. We'll be doing meal preps, show you about meal preps specifically for ketogenic diets. We'll take you grocery shopping specifically for the ketogenic diet. Taking you on my trips to the gym as I'm weightlifting, maybe as I'm training other people as well. as that happens, and just advocate the keto lifestyle. All right, so we have 3 goals during this final cut. 1 is to drop down from 287 to 195. 2 is to maintain as much strength as possible. As I've stated before, I know that it's going to be impossible for me to, increase dramatically my weights and all, because I've been at this for some years. There are new gains, but when we're talking of weightlifting for 3 years consistently, you're not talking about noob gains there. So I just want to maintain the strength, stay in the 3s, get into the 4s again as far as squats and stuff, and without hurting myself. Okay, and 3 is to advocate the ketogenic lifestyle, because it has done wonders for me. I realized that one size does not fit all. One way of eating is not for everyone. You have your vegans, you have your traditional standard American diet people, you have your high carb, low fat, high protein people. So just want to be a voice for a different way of eating. All right, and that being said, follow along, enjoy the ride, and until next time. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for more updates. Alright folks, so if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let's have some conversations. Subscribe if you want to keep up with what I'm doing. Alright, let's keep it simple. Eat, lift, profit.